welcome to School Talk. I'm Nadja Varney, your host. We hear today that you cannot get a good job without a college degree. Well, the problem is the costs for tuition, room and board are soaring. Even in a public college or in university, the costs are about $20,000. Well, across the country, there is one answer that seems to be getting more and more public attention, and that is the community college. Today, we're going to talk about admissions and financial aid. And my guests come from the largest community college in southeastern Massachusetts. It's Bristol Community College. And I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Robert Geddes. He is the senior admissions counselor at BBC, as we call it, and Ms. Holly Raposo, and she is the financial aid counselor at Bristol Community College. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you. I know you're busy at this time of year getting people into college and helping them to find a way to pay for it. Now, you both have children, don't you?
Yes.
Now, how old are your kids?
14, 4, and 2.
Oh, wow. And I've taught at almost all those levels. I know what you're going through.
And 7 and 4.
So you do understand why parents need to know this kind of information. So we're so grateful to have you. And by the way, before we start our conversation seriously, I want to say congratulations, because I read in the Attleboro Sun that you were elected to the school committee.
Yes, last week.
In that town. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're really dedicated to education, so I'm delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Now, before we actually talk about the two topics, admissions and financial aid, just a very quick overview, because as many people as are watching or listening to this have a view of what a community college is. So could you just describe, what is Bristol Community College?
Bristol Community College serves southeastern Massachusetts, as you said. We are a comprehensive public institution. We have about 11,000 students enrolled across 4 locations: Attleboro, Fall River, New Bedford, and a satellite in Taunton, Massachusetts.
Wow.
We have over 150 different associate degree and certificate programs, and have some great transfer opportunities so that when students get their degree, they can move on for a bachelor's degree at another institution.
That is amazing. That's why across the country we're hearing more and more, and actually politically and everywhere we're hearing about the community college. Well, I was thinking about just exactly when should somebody begin thinking about this, and how should they do it? And I read in an article in the Chronicle of Higher Education. The article spoke about the very first step in getting accepted into a college. They spoke about the Common Application, which was formed back in 1975. But they said it has technical glitches, strict membership rules, and there was an interview with a Dr. John Latting. He's the Dean of Admissions at Emory University, and he asked this question: why doesn't the Common App start when you're a freshman in high school? And you're saying, oh, I want to go to college, someone show me how to do it, end quote. So what are the steps, and when should the process begin?
There's no definitive timeline for when it should begin. A lot of families do start the process in their freshman, sophomore year of high school.
Wow.
Some will, the latest it should start is the junior year of high school.
Wow.
Every school has different admissions criteria, different admissions requirements. So if you are interested in a particular institution, it's important to follow up with their admissions office to find out what they're going to expect and what they're going to need, and then plan accordingly from there.
Now, this Common Application that was referred to, does the community colleges use that?
Some do. Bristol Community College does not, but there are some community colleges. I think they serve over 500 or 600 different institutions across the country.
Mm-hmm.
I know UMass Amherst is part of it. I believe Bridgewater State. I think UMass Dartmouth.
Most of the private schools as well.
Yeah.
Private schools too, yes. Well, as most kids are concerned about, how important are their school grades in high school, or their grade point averages, and then they have the SAT or the ACT. Now, in a community college, is that very important?
It depends on the program that the student is considering. We do have some selective programs, which means there are some pre-admission requirements where we would look at high school grades, like our nursing or dental hygiene programs. A lot of community colleges, most of the programs are called open enrollment, which means there are no admissions requirements, so there won't be a GPA or an SAT requirement. But that's just BCC. Again, some schools will have very strict GPA requirements or very strict SAT or ACT test scores. So it depends on the institution.
Which kind of changes a myth that's out there that, oh, anybody can get into a community college,
Right.
doesn't matter how smart or dumb you are. Well, there are standards, and you do have to pass the classes that you do enroll for.
Right.
So sometimes people disparage community colleges in that way. I went to a Dunkin' Donuts, and the young girl, I've seen her a number of times, she said, oh, I'm going to college, and I'm leaving for college. And I said, oh, good, where are you going? And she said, oh, it's only such and such a community college. And I said, don't say that. I think that's wonderful. You're
Absolutely.
starting there, and you're saving your money. You're saving your parents' money, I'm sure, which is where I'm going next. I was online looking at the costs for schools, and I'm telling you, I was shocked. I found them at I think the highest one I saw was $58,440. Some people don't even make that in a year, and that's each year for college. And then the public schools public institutions were around $20,000 with room and board and tuition. Now, how does this compare? How would you compare the cost for a community college with a 4-year institution?
Well, across the board, it's much more affordable. And with affordability being on everyone's radar right now, community colleges will give students the opportunity to get a lot of the general education requirements as part of an associate's program or as a transfer program that they're doing at a cheaper price. And it's not something that's a lower level of education, it's just at a different place. So a lot more students now are looking to do community college first than looking to transfer.
That sounds very logical to me,
And the
too.
price
Absolutely.
is very, very different.
Very different,
Very
much
different.
lower. Now, with this huge income gap in our country, we know the middle class is sort of disappearing and struggling financially, and the working poor, which is a larger group than ever before, they're all wanting to go to college too. So I guess what I'm asking is, how available is financial aid?
Well, as far as financial aid is concerned, every student, every parent, every family will do a FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid.
I want to stop you right there
Yeah.
because people have said that word to me, and see if I have that right. Is it free application?
Free application for federal student
For
aid.
student aid.
Yes.
FAFSA. And
yes.
F's and S sound so much alike.
Yeah.
So if somebody said, make sure your grandkids get the FAFSA, and I said, oh, well, I'll have to find out what that is. So would you tell us about that?
So it's something that every student interested in getting financial aid on any level, whether it be federal or institutional, they have to complete the FAFSA. And what that is, it's a free application that students will complete online, depending on with their parents, or if they're an independent student, they'll do it by themselves. And it sets the bar of how schools will award them financial aid. It comes up with their estimated family contribution, if they're eligible for a Pell Grant, direct loans. You have to do that if you want to be considered for a lot of the free grants that are out there.
So everybody, whether you're an adult coming back from war,
Absolutely.
a veteran, or whether you're a recent
Right.
high school grad, what are the other financial opportunities besides through the federal aid, this free application?
So there's the FAFSA. So with the FAFSA, obviously comes with the Pell Grants and the loans. Last resort for families should be private student loans that they would have to apply through a private lender for. Then everything else would be scholarships. So students should look to their hometowns when they're in high school to apply for local scholarships. A great scholarship, free website that there's no strings attached. You don't have to pay for the services. It's FastWeb. We direct a lot of students to there. It's a national scholarship search engine.
Would you say that again?
FastWeb.
F as in Frank,
Yep.
A-S-T,
STWEB.
FastWeb.
FastWeb.com.
And they will find scholarships.
You look for the scholarships and you apply for them, and there are tons and tons of them out there. But typically where you want to look first is when you're in high school, you want to check with your guidance counselor, see which scholarships are posted throughout the town, organizations, parents, employment. A lot of companies will give scholarships out.
This is a lot of work.
It is.
This
It is.
takes, and if there are parents doing 2 jobs and they're in a low-income position, maybe not only having 1 computer in the house, and of
Sure.
course there are places where there are no computers in the home. That kind of troubles me, that application for FAFSA, whatever, has to be done online, doesn't it?
A lot of families, you'd be surprised, still have limited access to the internet. But what community colleges do, especially Bristol Community College, throughout all the campuses, we give parents and students a lot of opportunities to come to campus and get help filling out that application.
Oh, good.
So we hold weekly workshops. You've also launched College 101, which is kind of an information session for upcoming students that gives them an overview way ahead of time. Just knowing that these services are out there for students, it gives people a better outlook, and it becomes less daunting for them.
You mentioned loans. You seem to discriminate between the federal loans and
Yes.
private loans.
Yes.
Could you speak about that a bit?
Sure. The federal loans are ones that are given to a student as part of the financial aid package off the bat if you've completed the FAFSA. You don't have to do a credit check. They're given to the student, okay? There are federal limits. The interest rates are low. They can be consolidated. Those are the ones that if you're going to have to borrow, you take those first. Private student loans, the interest rates are higher. Your parents typically have to co-sign. So that is a more of a financial investment that you're going to be making.
Well, it sounds like the community college is doing all it can do to help students get on with their lives, their educational lives and careers. And now I think you're talking about starting in high school, looking for all these openings and help and resources. But now we have dual enrollment, don't we?
Yes.
What would you like to talk to that? What that means?
Of course. Dual enrollment is an opportunity for a high school student to enroll in our college classes and have the credit count towards their high school diploma, so that when they graduate from their high school, they already have some college credits that they can put towards a degree at BCC, or they can use them to transfer into the program at another institution. In the past, these courses were free. Unfortunately, because of budget cuts, we can't have it free to all students, but students that do qualify can have the tuition and some of the fees waived for the course.
I see.
And we did actually, somewhat anecdotally, to see how valuable this can be. We actually had last year a student from North Attleboro High School that completed enough credits through dual enrollment that he graduated from North Attleboro High School and already had completed his associate's degree.
Oh, wow.
We just couldn't give him the associate's degree yet because he hadn't graduated from high school.
But he has enough credits accumulated
to complete his associate's degree. So he graduated from North Attleboro High School, went on to a bachelor's degree program with his 60 credits from BCC from his associate's degree.
So that's while you're in high school, taking all your courses and your exams, and many of these high school kids work.
Yeah.
I don't know where they get all this energy. And it's still, because I know the courses at BCC, at least the community college professors and students that I've talked to, they're not just easy fly-through courses.
No.
There's a lot of work to them. So congratulations to that young man, and I wish many more students will find their way there. But right now we do have to go to a break, but we'll be back in just a second. Stay with us. You want to know more about this, to get into college and how to pay for it.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Mr. Geddes, Rob, and Holly, you have been so informative so far. And now I'd like to dig in a little more to the courses that you actually have at Bristol Community College. You mentioned that you have several courses where they're competitive. You cannot just apply and be accepted. Could you talk about one or two of those courses?
Absolutely. Some of our selective programs, most of them are health science related. So we have an associate's degree for registered nurses, an ASRN program.
AS and
Associate in Science for a registered nurse. We have dental hygiene, occupational therapy assistant, healthcare information management, a number of medical related fields. And a lot of those have what are called pre-admission requirements. Depending on the program, some of them include courses that you need to complete with at least a B- for your final grade, certain GPA requirements. Our occupational therapy program requires an essay to be submitted. So essentially they're not they're not open enrollment programs. Unrelated, another selective program that we have is our culinary arts program, which is culinary arts is actually transitioning to what's called the Catch Institute. Catch is an acronym for culinary arts, tourism, casino, and hospitality.
Oh, that's much wider than it used to be.
It is.
The culinary arts idea. Would you say that again? What's included in that?
Culinary arts, tourism, casino, and hospitality.
The casinos are in there. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're trying to be everywhere. I don't know how you feel about that. Every time I turn around, somebody else wants to open a casino. So now you can study to be part of managing it.
Yeah, you can study casino management, absolutely. And so the culinary arts program does have certainly fewer pre-admission requirements than a nursing or a dental hygiene. But it's again not an open enrollment program.
That's quite interesting because so many people say, oh, anyone can go to a community college, but that's not totally true in many ways, I can see. Now, the people getting the funding for this, is the funding more expensive for the competitive classes and courses?
Well, in terms of the health sciences, you're going to end up having more lab charges, possibly more materials, different kinds of things, but the tuition is the same.
Oh, I see.
The classes
so some
are
of
the
the
same.
fees might
the
be different.
The fees, supplies, different things like that. Uniforms could be a little bit different, so those expenditures may be increasing. But in terms of financial aid, they get awarded the same way. Those students who may have those additional expenses can always go to the financial aid office and ask for some additional help with those. And there's usually funding for that.
Yeah, so that's a big help if you wanted to be a registered nurse.
Absolutely. The last thing we want is them to have a barrier if they can't afford their books for a competitive program. So we work to make sure that it's covered.
Now, you said the word books, and I know that books at the college level are so expensive.
They are.
I mean, there are ways people are going online and looking for good used books and so forth, but some of them you really can't find. I've talked to students. So what do you tell students about the demand? I mean, one book can cost like $50, $90.
We advise students to rent. A lot of bookstores at schools now will give them the renting option.
Is that right?
Which is usually 60 to 70% off the retail price to buy it, which is fantastic because students can mark up the books. They can highlight, and they just have to return them back by the date in decent condition, meaning the book
They
holds.
can highlight and write in the books?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that was immediately what went on in my mind. I said, oh, I wouldn't want to rent a book. I like to, if I'm studying something, underline and highlight. But they will take them back like that?
Sure, and there's also e-versions of some of the books where you can download them on your iPad or a tablet or something like that and look at the e-text, and sometimes that's cheaper.
Wow.
And some schools will even, I know at BCC at our Attleboro campus, the Library Resource Center has a number of the textbooks available there for checkout, so that students can photocopy and without having to even pay for the rental. It is unfortunately limited, but it is another available resource.
Well, that's good to know, though, that there are some other avenues to getting your books paid for, other than bothering Grandpa. You know? You talked about this kind of transfer that many community college students do. And I think you're talking about leaving community college with a certain amount of credits and then applying those to an institution, a 4-year. Now, how does that happen and how smooth is that?
Students really can transfer from one college to another at any point in their career. We have agreements with over 100 different colleges and universities that allow them, if they finish their associate's degrees, they may be eligible for certain benefits like a reduction in tuition or a guarantee of admission, guarantee of credit transfer.
Wow.
Some of those institutions include Roger Williams University, Bryant University, we have a special agreement with the state schools in Massachusetts. It's called the Mass Transfer Program. And that says that if a student graduates with their associate's degree, then any state school, any UMass campus or any state university will waive the application fee, waive the application essay, guarantee that their general education requirements are met. If the student's GPA is a 2.5 or higher, which is a C+, B- average,
Wow.
they will also guarantee admission, guarantee at least 60 of our credits, transfer with the student, and at a 3.0, the student B average, the student would get a tuition reduction depending on the school that they go to.
That sounds really, no wonder you're hearing about this all across America and in
Yep.
the political scene and all kinds of people talking about the community college because, and I'm sure that with two parents who are working and struggling financially, this is really a great gift to them.
Yeah, and even schools that we don't have agreements with, students do transfer very easily. In 2014, we had over 1,000 students that got their associates and went directly into a bachelor's degree program. They went to 175 different institutions, and we only have
Wow.
agreements with 111.
Now that's not just in New England.
That's nationwide.
Nationwide.
Most of the schools are in New England. The schools that we have agreements with are all in New England or New York. But we have sent students to Arizona State, Penn State, University
Wow,
of Michigan,
wonderful.
University of Hawaii, which I'm sure would be a beautiful campus to attend. But
You're wishing to go there and work on
Yes.
admissions. Yes, I can see it in your eyes. Another problem, though, going back to admissions and the money, how do you deal with the diversity? Our society is so diverse, and I know the area, at least the areas that I know of where Bristol Community College is located, they have large, diverse population. In fact, while I was teaching some years back, they had a 60% mobility rate with students moving in and out of a community. So you have children coming in, and therefore you have students coming out of high school with all kinds of dispersed and disparaging backgrounds of knowledge, of experience, and so forth. So I wonder if you could talk about, for example, we hear today, around this time of year anyway, about veterans. Now, how do you help or work with veterans coming back? And some of them haven't been studying since high school.
we actually have, we just opened an exclusive Veteran Services office
Oh.
on our Fall River campus. The office is based in Fall River, but the services are available regardless of what campus a student attends. Obviously, they're eligible to take advantage of the GI Bill and a few other financial benefits. But we try to be as aware as possible of the different challenges that veterans face and try to accommodate those as best as possible.
Now, do you find a difference in the financial needs, or are the vets also needing some financial support?
They are. A lot of them will use their benefits and then supplement with financial aid for books and things like that. They can do both. Veterans will oftentimes have a very, high expectation in terms of the services that they're getting from a financial aid office. The assistance that they need, they're very organized. So they come and they want to make sure that they're not borrowing, just like a lot of the other students. It's, pretty much the same challenges other than them needing to navigate that system with their benefits, which is sometimes can be a challenge because it's so integral and, it's a lot of.
Well, probably after you've come back from being in a war, your whole attitude and your whole orientation now
Sure.
toward going to college would be different than an 18-year-old that's, kind of just getting through it at high school and running around in his new car.
Sure.
So, or old car.
Yeah.
Much more aware
Yeah.
of how they're spending the money.
So I think that would be a different approach toward their financial problems. Now also you have people who are English language learners. We have such a variety in this area of New England of people with various language backgrounds. Some of these students are coming from homes where no one speaks English but the student.
Right.
Now how do you deal with that?
We have, our Fall River campus has English as a second language classes. At our Attleboro campus, we refer students to the Literacy Center, which is a nonprofit based in downtown Attleboro, where students can learn how to read, write, and speak the English language. In Taunton, we offer a number of classes through the Adult Basic Education program. And even for students that are at a high school level or a high school equivalency level and they're ready to go into college, We do have some developmental reading and writing classes if they don't have enough of a grasp of the English
the
language to
language.
go into the college level courses.
I am just constantly amazed. When I was teaching, we didn't have English language learner classes available. So they used to come to me as I was a reading specialist, and we would have to be doing language arts and language. And I was always amazed at the learning ability of these young children. And we did learn that if they have learned to read in their own language, they usually make much quicker progress in learning English. But I just have, we are a nation of immigrants, and so it just continues to amaze me how we all get enculturated and we learn the same language. I'm just wondering one other thing about special needs students. We only have 2 minutes left, but just very quickly, if someone has a physical or mental handicap, do you still allow them into the school and have some support for them?
Of course, yes. We have an Office of Disability Services that provides accommodations for students that have any learning or physical challenges that may affect them academically.
Wheelchairs and can have access?
Yep. And we also have our Learning Commons, which is open not just to students with disabilities, but for any student that needs any tutoring or academic support assistance. And both of those programs, Learning Commons and the Office of Disability Services, all of their services are at no additional cost. They're all included in tuition
That is just wonderful. I mean, this is like, let's all learn. Come to community college. We'll do anything we can. And talking to your president, who's been on our show several times, you can just tell he has the intensity that he wants everybody to learn, and he's going to help them how to do it.
He does.
Actually, I remember asking Dr. John Sprague, they call him Jack Sprague, but I call him Dr. John Sprague. I asked him this next question that I'm just going to ask you very briefly, and I'll tell you after you answer what his answer was. Very briefly, with time running out, what is the greatest challenge the community college faces now?
Our community college, I would say our biggest challenge is funding for me, because we do have a number of programs that we would like to offer, and we do want to be as much of a community service member as possible, but we need more money to do that.
Right, and reaching everyone.
Yeah.
Very good. And you know what Dr. Sprague said? Space! Space.
How did I not think of space?
They have so many applicants, they need more room.
We do.
Well, thank you so much, Rob Geddes and Holly Raposo. You've been so helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, in closing, I want to say to our audience, with nearly half of all the undergraduates in this country in community colleges, they must be doing something right. And because they provide such a wide gateway to opportunity for so many Americans, I'll say here, community colleges receive high praise here at School Talk.